Hello and welcome to Inside Sports. I'm your host, Todd Blackstock. We have a fun show for you today, as longtime Maryville University and high school caravan broadcaster Jim Powers will join us in studio. And today we'll launch our first episode in a series of interviews surrounding the 2023 St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Plus, we'll tell you about a local swim club that's breaking barriers. So stay with us for this and much more coming up next on Inside Sports. Is a year-round swim team offering high-quality coaching for African-American kids ages 5 through 18. Their coaches are certified in the YMCA and USA swimming programs. This nonprofit team is part of the O'Fallon Park Rec Complex YMCA. Taria Goodwin is the head swim coach and is responsible for day-to-day operations of the club. The team competes year-round and is recreational in the spring and summer and competitive in the fall and winter. For more information, contact the O'Fallon Park YMCA at 314-932-1423. Our featured guest today served as athletic director for Rosati Kane High School in St. Louis. He helped start the high school sports caravan in the early 2000s. He's broadcasted the last 11 Missouri high school state football championships and has taken on the role as sports information director for the Sooner Athletic Conference in Oklahoma. At this time, we welcome Jim Powers to Inside Sports. Jim, thanks a lot for joining us.
No, thank you for having me. I mean, it's an exciting time for sports, you know, on all levels, basically. So I'm glad you gave me the opportunity to come by and visit for a little bit.
You know, we always thought Earl Austin Jr. was one of the, the genuine high school gurus. But I tell you, you're right there with him, and you've been here for quite some time now in St. Louis.
Yeah, I've been here for coming up on 20 years, and even now, when people say Earl Austin Jr. and Jim Powers, I still just shake my head like, no, it's Earl. I'm just there to supplement stuff. But no, I mean, and Earl's one of my best friends. We talk all the time about the high school kids and the college stuff and everything. And he's been a great mentor to me. He's opened up a lot of doors, especially with the Caravan, which is now Prep Sports STL. And we're excited. And plus, anytime I get a chance to talk with him on my podcast, I mean, we try to limit it to about 40 minutes. Mm-hmm. We could sit there for 2 hours and talk about what's going on. But, Earl is, just being mentioned in the same breath with Earl Austin. I'm so humbled and honored to be, mentioned like that.
Jim, I thought for many years that St. Louis athletes, basketball and football in particular, were overlooked by the national media and in recruiting. But when you have the Bradley Beals and Justin Tatums and Jason Tatum's coming through, it's hard not to look at St. Louis as a prime real estate for great basketball and football players.
No, there's no doubt about it. I think we started to see it, on the basketball side. And when I first started covering high school, you were lucky to get maybe one or two kids going D1. Now, you look at St. Louis, and it's a must-stop for the Power 5 schools. Now you're seeing the Nick Sabans of the world making their way into the metro area. You're looking at, Ryan Day from Ohio State. That is what it's really gone to right now. And I think, too, the kids and the coaches, they've raised the bar of their preparation. The coaches and the athletic directors have done an unbelievable job in scheduling to make sure that the kids are ready. And that's why you see as many teams making it to the state championships, not only in football, not only in basketball, but in a lot of the sports that are just fantastic. But absolutely, I mean, right now, the St. Louis metro area is an absolute must-stop for football, basketball, and a lot of the other college coaches in the country.
Let's talk about some of the maybe top high school football recruits this year. We've got a pretty special one right across the street at St. Louis University High School.
Yeah, Ryan's just a terrific player, and he's going to be able to go pretty much. Ryan Wingo, yeah, and he's going to be able to go anywhere he wants to go. He's been dinged up a little bit this season, But once again, we're hitting the playoffs in SLU High. This is a vastly improved team this year. And he's got a great young man that's getting the ball to him in Marco Sandstone. So they've been a lot of fun to watch. I had a chance to watch them play DeSmet a few weeks back, and it was a fun game to watch. But DeSmet right now is one of the top teams in the area. They've got a kid at quarterback by the name of Dylan Duff that is really grown this year, and you saw a little bit of it last year. But some of the other kids, you look at Lutheran North, what a year they're having. I can't remember in my time somebody going to Blair Oaks, and we all know what Blair Oaks is all about. They've won a ton of state championships, and you can't win down there. Lutheran North able to pull that off. Then the following week, they knock off the Class 5 defending state champs in Francis Howell. I mean, Kyle Wagner's just done a terrific job, and Dimitri Hollis, their quarterback, my gosh, has this kid grown up in front of all of us over the last year. And he's just been terrific. And then you look at some of the other big names, obviously, the other J-Mac, McClellan out at CBC, he's been having a terrific year. You look at Jude Jones out at Francis Howell, he's going to Mizzou. He's going to join Brett Norfleet, who was a Howell tight end last year. There are just so many great kids on every level, looking to further their education on the collegiate side and their academic side as well. And it's just so much fun to watch these kids and cover them week in and week out.
It seems like the University of Missouri is starting to gather some of these recruits. It's cool to come to Mizzou now. I mean, Drink's doing a good job. Started this season fantastic. And what about the game at the Dome this year against Memphis?
It was great for those kids. I mean, especially the local kids. When you talk about Brady Cook, who took so much heat late last year and into this year. And I tell you what, that young man has absolutely grown into the position. And I had a chance to see him at Chaminade and was impressed there. And now looking at what he's doing right now at Mizzou has been terrific. I think the story, we'll get to Luther here in a second, but the Cody Schrader story is just unbelievable. I watched this young man at Lutheran South. He was unbelievable. And then nobody would touch him because he was too small. Didn't have the look of a collegiate D1 running back. Goes to Truman, shatters every rushing record up there over 2 years, and goes as a preferred walk-on down to Mizzou last year. Well, guess what? He's one of the top rushers in the SEC this year. That kid's story is unreal, and then, Luther just does what he does, and he catches the ball, he gets touches, and he scores touchdowns. This young man is as special of a player that we've ever seen from the metro area, and he's so much fun to watch. And he's going to make a big, big impact moving forward. And he's going to be named with a lot of likes of Jameson Williams and some of the other guys that have gone through and are going to get drafted in the NFL.
Brady Cook is in the conversation if he keeps things up, in the Heisman Trophy conversation. But what about Luther?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the big thing, and we all know this, if you're going to win a Heisman Trophy, you got to win your conference, and you got to get to the bowl. You've got to get to the Final Four, basically, in football. I don't know if Mizzou will get to that point, but I'm going to tell you right now, they've already turned a lot of heads this year. And Luther, absolutely, he's going to be in the conversation. He's leading the SEC in receiving yards. He's leading in yards after catch. He's just that special of a player. Believe me, if not this year, remember, he's only a sophomore. I tell you what, the next 2 years are going to be awfully special for that young man.
Well, let's hope these guys stick around for a little while because Brady is just a junior, and there's a really good quarterback that's sitting behind him right now that may consider playing wide receiver or defense or something to get some playing time.
Well, Sam Horn, that kid is a special kid. He's a pitcher. He's touching 95, 96, in the spring pitching for the Mizzou baseball team. And he's a student of the game. And that's where there were a lot of questions in the preseason, who was going to get the starting nod. And Drink feels very comfortable with Brady. Brady's proved all the doubters wrong this year.
And with the game at the Dome and the Memphis Tigers versus Mizzou, I mean, it was a big crowd right there. What does that do for recruiting here, when some of the top players know that they might be able to come back and play at the Dome in front of their families?
Yeah, without a doubt. And that's the big thing and I love that they did that. They gave the kids a chance here, and I think Drink has done a terrific job in kind of closing down the borders and getting the local kids to stay in state. Yeah, he's still losing some kids, but a lot of the good kids are staying in state, and having a game down at the Dome like that is just absolutely, number one, it's an unbelievable recruiting crew to these high school kids. That's what you need. and he's done a terrific job. And I think that game at the Dome is going to pay dividends for years to come.
All right, perfect. We're going to take a quick break now, but stay with us as we'll head over to the Missouri Athletic Club to honor some special local athletes when we return.
I got some Oxy after I hurt my neck. First, I took them to feel better. Then, I just kept taking them. I didn't know they'd be this addictive. I didn't know how far I'd go to get more.
Opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth.
Jim Powers is our guest today. Jim, former Missouri Tiger and Detroit Lion All-Pro Demetrius Johnson meant so much to our community, and now he's gone. He was such a pipeline, for the East St. Louis and kids from the city, Hazelwood area, to go to Mizzou. And he could get on the phone and call someone up and make things happen just like that. How sorely missed is DJ in our community?
Unbelievably, and people don't understand that. And those that don't need to realize the impact that DJ had. I remember the first time I met him, and he was doing the games with Randy Carricker, and he welcomed me, and just conversating and having these, chats with him. It was just unbelievable to see the knowledge he had, but also how much he cared about the kids so much. And we saw that. We saw with his foundation. We saw the different things that he did for high school kids here in the metro area. People don't understand the longevity of what DJ's memory is going to mean here in the metro area.
One of my first memories was at his camp. He introduced me to Billy Sims. Mm-hmm. He played football with him at Detroit, and Billy was an All-American in Oklahoma, and we all know how great he was. Well, right now, let's send it over to the Missouri Athletic Club in downtown St. Louis, as Demetrius Johnson and several others were honored. Let's take a look. And joining me now is someone that will be a Hall of Famer for all NFL fans in St. Louis, Mike Jones. Mike, thanks a lot for joining us here at the 2023 St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame. Tonight here at the Missouri Athletic Club, it's a fine occasion, a lot of great inductees, and we'll start out by talking about DJ, Demetrius Johnson, fellow football player at the University of Missouri. He had a big impact on streamlining kids from St. Louis to Mizzou, and he was just a great guy, and really one of the things great for the community and the kids.
Absolutely. DJ did a phenomenal job. Great man, great family man, great player. Just did a lot of great things in his community, impacted a lot of people's lives, and it's great to honor him tonight.
One of the first times I met him, he was with Bill Wilkerson, former broadcaster from Mizzou, and he was asking Bill, he just retired, he said, "Bill, what can I do to give back to the community?" So this was like right when he was leaving the NFL. So this wasn't just something he did. This was something that was instilled in him at a young age. Knowing DJ, what do you think, brought him that intensity and, the big heart that he wanted to help everybody?
His mother, he talked about his mother all the time, about how she did different programs to help different people, and he saw what she did. He lived what she did. So he wanted to make sure he honored his mom. He always talked about his mom and what she did and what she meant to him and how she impacted different people's lives. I mean, the thing about him giving away the turkeys, his mom came up with that. She used to do that. And then she, and he saw, if you watch when we give turkeys away, we take turkeys to people's houses. And that's what his mother did. He wanted to honor her, and he did many things building off of that.
Demetrius grew up in the projects in downtown St. Louis. Those are tough streets down there. And, he went to Mizzou. And he seemed to have a great pipeline with kids from the East St. Louis and the city kids to streamline them to at least give Missouri a look, and it's got to hurt a little bit to Missouri for him to be gone.
It does. I mean, it hurts a lot of different people, and not only in St. Louis. DJ touched people all over the United States. I mean, he had a show in Detroit. People listened to him in Detroit. He just did all kind of different things all over the place. Wherever he stepped, he tried to make an impact in people's lives, and that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, if you get opportunity with the things that he does and the relationships that he had, he used those to benefit other people, not him.
The one thing with DJ is you kind of knew where you stood. Because I remember
It wasn't a kind of, you knew where you stood.
we were doing a high school football game one time, and I think it was Edwardsville, and I had all this preparation. I talked to the coaches about the top 3 players and, the keys of the game, and I'm doing all this. We go to the break. DJ goes, Todd, less of you, more of me. And that was, it was straightforward.
Yeah.
He was the star of the show, but, he had a huge heart, as we talked about, and, what went through your mind, and how bad did it hurt when you found out he'd passed? Because he's only in his early 60s.
Man, you know what? It really hurt because, like I said, I had talked to DJ not the week when he got sick. And I talked to him, that's when he did his toy giveaway. So I talked to him and then find out he had got ill and come to the hospital and see him and thought he was coming, getting to a point where he was going to be okay, and then to lose him, it was tough. And hit a lot of different people real hard. But, hopefully we'll be able to honor him by still doing things in the foundation, with the foundation, and honor him by doing those different things, because we're going to do what he would have done if he was here. Between his family, his foundation, we're going to try and do everything that he always did.
I tell you what, Mike, it's tough to see him go, but you're a longtime football coach after your NFL career, helping the St. Louis Rams win a Super Bowl. You're playing with the Raiders and the Steelers and the Rams, of course, and you gave back to the community. You're up in Jeff City and, over at St. Louis University, and there's a high school football coach going in tonight, and that's neat, too, because the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame, it's for everybody, amateurs, professionals, collegiates, and it's neat to see Rich Gorzinski from Hazelwood East going in. What do you know about Rich?
Well, great coach. I was a third head coach in the Hazelwood East history. I was after Corey Johnson, so Coach Garzo, he did a phenomenal job of building a program from the ground up. The first coach ever for 25 years. Won the first state championship for Hazelwood East, multiple state champions, multiple NFL guys, multiple Division I guys. He did a great job of when you see that program and where it started at to where when he left it, it was a phenomenal job they did, and it's well deserved that he's in the Hall of Fame.
And joining us now is Bobby Cole. Bobby's the head football coach at Hazelwood East, and Hazelwood East former coach Rich Gorzinski going into the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame, and following Rich, you must be very proud to be out here tonight. And tell us a little bit about Rich Gorzinski and what he's meant to you, and following in his legacy at Hazelwood East.
Absolutely. Playing for Rick Gorzinski was great. Growing up around the guys that were those old Hazelwood East legends was great. I'm happy to be, filling in his footsteps and trying to get that program back to the excellence that it was once in the 90s and the 80s.
So describe the scene out here at the Missouri Athletic Club. It's the 120th anniversary of the MAC, and it's the 2023 St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame. It seems like a pretty cool way to spend both evenings right here tonight.
Absolutely. It's a ton of former professional athletes, collegiate athletes, and coaches in the area, and I'm glad to be, rubbing shoulders with the greats around here.
So describe your evening so far. You come in, you kind of like have a little social hour, and then it's time for the program. And how does Coach Gorzinski feel about going into the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame?
Well, I haven't talked to him about it yet, but I'm sure he's thrilled. I just saw him in there having dinner with his family. He's like he's in good health and having a great time.
So what is it that makes Hazelwood East so special? I remember playing at Parkway West versus Hazelwood East in 1982-83 at Busch Stadium. Mm-hmm. And it was one of the top programs, always year in and year out, one of the toughest teams to play. And that Suburban Central is always one of the toughest conferences in the state and the Midwest.
Well, Hazelwood East is the house that Coach Gorzinski built. So, again, just trying to live up to his legacy and, get that program back to the excellence that it once was is a task, but we're here for it.
So what challenges do you have in 2023, coaching high school football that, you may not have faced, when you were growing up playing?
Well, I think there is less involvement in the sport from the youth level up to the high school level. So scrubbing the hallways, trying to get those kids who, look like they are athletes or somebody that wants to play in the hallways of the school, and just getting them and convincing them to come out and play football again.
We lost an ambassador of St. Louis football and youth sports, Demetrius Johnson, this year, and it's so fitting that DJ's going into the Hall of Fame tonight. Can you give us any experience or memory of Demetrius Johnson and why he's so sorely missed?
Well, Mr. Johnson had his program over on the north side of St. Louis, and my youth football team, we played in his tournament a couple years in a row. And he gave me and my team a shout out on the radio, a nice shout out. And he was, just nice to me and my kids, and we were proud to play, in his tournament every year.
And joining us now, the 2022 St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony, Alex Johnson, the daughter of DJ, and what a bittersweet evening here tonight. Yeah. Demetrius is gone, but his memory will always be preserved here. And tonight the ceremony is at the Missouri Athletic Club.
Yes, I'm really excited to see the whole event. I know that he would be very, very proud and humbled by being joined into the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame. So it's really excited to be here with my sisters and my mom. So I'm really excited to see them pay some homage.
So growing up with Demetrius, what are some of your thoughts? What are some of the things? Because we all know, what a true gentleman he was, and he was so into the community and the kids and everything. What were some of the biggest things he loved to give back to the community?
I would say his time and his knowledge. He was someone who would definitely be the biggest melting pot, I would say. He was a connection man, whether you were a millionaire or whether you were just trying to figure it out in life. So I think that, and then also working with STL TV, he got me an opportunity to, get into video production as well. And I will say a big thing about my father is he always raised us as quarterbacks, but loved us as princesses. So that's something that I think he gave back to the world by doing that for his daughter. So we're able to keep it going forth.
In his time at the University of Missouri, he was a great defensive back. He had honors, an NFL All-Pro with the Detroit Lions. He was a heck of a football player.
Yes.
And then after his career, he would bring people like Billy Sims into town, NFL Hall of Famers and Pro Bowlers to meet with the kids. Yeah. And he was certainly a pipeline to the University of Missouri athletics.
Yeah, I think that sports was definitely his first love, and it opened up the door for him to even be able to be the Demetrius Johnson that the St. Louis community knows today, and actually being able to give back outside of sports as well. So it's kind of that melting pot situation again, So he was a wonderful man. I really miss him a lot. It's a little hard being here, like you said, bittersweet, but I'm really, really excited to see this.
Any final thoughts about DJ going into the Hall of Fame and this great experience out here at the MAC tonight?
I know that he would be so happy. He would be like, no, you guys don't do anything for me. He was always very humbled. But I know that he would really, really appreciate being recognized. Like I said, that was his first love, got him through his whole life, and then he was able to keep giving back through sports as well.
And welcome back to the show. Jim, it's, seeing Alex Johnson, Demetrius' daughter, speaking heartfelt like that is heartwarming. You got Mike Jones, former Mizzou player, Rams Hall of Famer, all-time guy there. And, Mike Jones coached, in Hazelwood at SLU. And, so he's a great segue with Mizzou and high school. One thing about Hazelwood East, they've always had a great tradition. And one more thing, I want to throw this at you. A lot of former NFL players are head coaches in St. Louis right now.
It's unbelievable how many former NFL players, even, big D1 talents, are football coaches. And it's great for the kids to learn that kind of stuff. It's great that they're actually seeing guys that have done it, that have been in their shoes on the highest level in the NFL. And those kids are gravitating to it. I watched Kirkwood with Jeremy Macklin, when Mike was coaching. Those kids loved the knowledge that they got from those guys day in and day out. It's awesome to see.
Kerry Davis,
yeah.
Mike Jones. The list goes on and on. Well, right now, let's talk a little bit about some neat things going on with you, as you've been named the SID for the Sooner Athletic Conference. Can you tell us how that all came about? And congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And it's a great opportunity. I spent 8 years at Maryville. Started off doing all their broadcasting stuff, and then moved into the Assistant Sports Information Director position. And right after COVID, I think a lot of people just kind of needed to take a step back. And I did that. Went to Rosati for a little bit, but there was always this little thing about getting back into college sports, and the opportunity presented itself. A real good friend of mine, Brad Seigan, who's the director of communications for the NAIA, mentioned my name to John Martin, the commissioner of the Sooner Athletic Conference, and a couple of phone conversations, and I was hooked. The great thing is I get to work with a conference that's unbelievable. So many great teams, so many great stories, and plus I get to do it from St. Louis. I don't have to travel to Oklahoma all the time. I get to work in my home office here in South City, and it's a blast. But you know, it's just I get to really do a lot of fun stuff with it and use my creative ability to really help with the website and do some different things and really, you know, get the more spotlight on the kids and the coaches and different things along those lines.
Now, you've been involved with a lot of postseason NCAA events. We see it down at Arch Madness each year. But you seem to really like doing the Division II and the NAIA things because they don't quite get as much publicity as D1.
No, they don't, and they deserve the publicity, and that's a great thing. You know, I've been with the Division II Elite Eight Media Committee on the men's basketball side for many years. Only 3 of us have moderated the post-game and all the press conferences in the 35-year history since they switched the format. And that's so much fun for me. And the basketball is just unbelievable. The FCS, I've been part of their media coordination crew. Last year, for a dream, still doing stuff with Mike Kernan, Missouri Valley Football Conference. I get North Dakota State, South Dakota State, 2 coaches that I respect, that I know very well, and to see them get after it down at Frisco, Texas, in a sold-out crowd, and being able to talk to John Stiegelmeier after the game, that may turn into be the highlight of my career, is doing that post-game presser with Stig, and then him announcing his retirement a couple days after that. It was just so much fun. But yeah, I love doing that kind of stuff because the kids deserve the spotlight. D1 kids are getting it, but these kids that are playing at the lower level, they deserve the same spotlight that those kids are getting as well.
You know, you and I have a mutual friend, my former Corey League baseball coach, Paul Ellis. I looked up to this guy. He coached us in Bonham football as an assistant, and he coached everybody. He would just go from field to field, helping people out. It's in his blood, but we reunited a while back at Arch Madness, and I know you guys have spent a lot of time together. He's just a wonderful guy.
He was one of the first people I met here in St. Louis 19 and a half years ago, and we struck up a friendship, and it's continued to this day. When I took over at Maryville, Paul was my color analyst. When I was doing the state basketball stuff, I brought Paul out to do the studio stuff with me. His knowledge is unbelievable, and he is such a great person, and he cares about the kids as much as anybody else. It doesn't matter if it's his kids or if it's anybody else's kids. He cares about the kids and putting a spotlight on them. And, you know, Paul, it doesn't get any better than Paul Ellis, I'll tell you that right now.
He coached 3 or 4 sports, and he was a referee, too, so he used to like to get on the refs and the umpires. That was fun. Any final thoughts? We got about a minute left.
You know, I mean, there's just so many things going on out there. And the one thing I will always say, go support the kids. Get out there and support these kids. Do the things that we need to do to give these kids the great atmospheres. Football this year has just been unbelievable. The packed houses. You know, DeSmet and SLU High a couple weeks ago, unbelievable crowd. We need to get out there and support the kids. Don't yell at the officials. Don't yell at the coaches. Support the kids because these kids deserve it. They work so hard for it. They deserve everything that they're getting right now.
Well, Jim, thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate
Congratulations and continued success with your new endeavors, and we're glad to have you here still in St. Louis. If COA did anything right, it was allowing Zoom and that access there. So.
Absolutely, it did.
All right, we appreciate you coming in. Well, that's our show for today. We'd especially like to thank Jim Powers for joining us in studio, and we'd like to thank you for watching Inside Sports on STL TV. Experience St. Louis.